They say never. I say never tell me what to do. A person will never put you in a position above them. That's never a lie, always true. Success never comes without risk, and risk never comes without fear. YouTube is a smoke and mirror, never how it appear.
Hey, what's happening, YouTube? It's your boy Icewater, man. And look, I ran across this video. I did a couple reaction videos so far to like people who was probably shouldn't be making YouTube videos about what they doing in their trucking business, but they decided to do it anyway. But I want to flip the script here and look at it from a different angle. And this guy, his name is Gill22, and I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description. I actually watched a couple of his videos and I actually kind of like the guy. So I wanted to do a reaction video to this particular video right here, how I negotiate low rates with brokers. Do this. Man, y'all pay attention and send this to everybody you know that's like want to be a dispatcher, that is a dispatcher, that's an owner operator booking their own loads, man. Let's check them out, man. Check them out. Gill22, and I don't know this guy either, but this video got what, 45,000 views. I think it should have more than that.
Truth is, most of you watching this video right now are probably leaving hundreds and maybe even thousands of dollars on the table every time you book a load. I know for a fact I was when I first started dispatching. However, over time, I've picked up some tricks that have allowed me to gross $5,000 every single week from just one truck. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do that too. Alright guys, it's actually much easier to negotiate than you think it is, but it's only easy if you're fully prepared for the call. And the very first thing you need to do before you call is figure out your CPM or cost per mile. Now, I'm sure you've heard a bunch of people on YouTube tell you to figure out your CPM. However, they forget to tell you some key things. But before I get into that, let me just quickly explain what a CPM is for those of you that don't know. So,
alright, now y'all pay attention. He gives a pretty good explanation. This thing been covered 1,000,001 times, but to me, it's sort of like condoms. Like, they preach wear condoms, wear condoms, wear condoms. And what do people do? Don't wear condoms.
So, your CPM or cost per mile is just a total of all your fixed and variable costs on a per mile basis. Essentially, your CPM will tell you your business's break-even point, and it tells you the bare minimum to charge for your loads. If you don't know your CPM, I've made an Excel sheet that you can download and keep to plug numbers into and figure out your CPM within 5 minutes. And if you're interested, you can go to Gill22.com and find it under templates, or just look in the description of this video and I'll make sure to leave a link. Now, when you know your CPM, most people will just tell you to charge 50 cents more or something arbitrary like that and call it a day. But that's the lazy way of doing things. And again, you're losing money because of it. So,
let me stop right here and add something to this. When you develop your CPM is not the bottom dollar that you can charge for a load. Your CPM is what it costs you per mile to operate your truck. And a lot of times people confuse the two. And then when they see a rate that's above their CPM, they think that they're getting a good rate. It doesn't work like that, man. That's why, like, everybody that can drive a truck shouldn't run a trucking business.
what should you do? Well, when you're figuring out your CPM, make sure you put an amount under driver pay that you want to pay yourself. Most of the time when owner-operators want to calculate their CPM, they don't put anything under driver pay because they assume it's for carriers with drivers. No. Even if you don't have a driver, this is where you get to decide how much you want to pay yourself first. If you're having trouble coming up with a number, try answering this question. As an owner-operator, what is the least amount of money I would be willing to make every single year? For me personally, this would be about $50,000, and since I only want to drive about 7,000 miles a month, I can work backwards from there and calculate my driver pay to be about 60 cents per mile.
Now it don't get no simpler than that, man. I hope y'all caught that. If not, run it back, run it back.
Now obviously when I put this number in, my new CPM will be much higher. However, whenever I book loads, I won't really have to wonder how much money I'm gonna make this year, because as long as I keep booking loads over this new CPM, I know I'll end up making more than $50,000 every single year. But don't just get lazy now, because you have to treat this new CPM as your break-even point and just forget that you're paying yourself $50,000 every year. This CPM will now be your new baseline, and now from here we can build on that. Now that you know your real CPM, the next step is to figure out what routes you want to run. So start off by picking 3 to 5 routes that you would like to run and ignore every other market. So for example,
come on, man. He clumsy with the information. He dropping jewels. This video should have 1 million views just on the information that he didn't put out up to this point. 3 minutes in an 11.5-minute video, he should have 1 million views. Pay attention. Pay attention.
Example, if I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, I would pick 3 to 5 routes going out of Atlanta. Let's just say I want to be back home every other day. I would pick 3 to 5 routes that end up in medium to large size cities that are 400 to 500 miles away, such as St. Louis, Louisville, and Cincinnati.
Wait a minute. You wouldn't circle the globe?
You may be asking yourself, well, what if one day I'm not able to find any loads for these routes? What do I do? Well, I have some good news for you, because you don't really have to worry about that. The reason I'm telling you to pick medium to large size cities as your destination is so we can set a 50-mile destination deadhead and find a whole bunch of loads around these bigger cities that typically run for the same rate. So again, you won't ever be in a shortage of loads. The goal is to pick 3 to 5 routes that you can become an expert in and just hyper focus on them.
Wait a minute. Pick 3 to 5 routes that you can become an expert in. Find you some lanes that you like to run and research them lanes. Man, we saying the same thing, bro. We saying the same. Preach.
Owner-operators that follow the hype and start running loads all over the country are usually clueless on what the actual rates are, and they heavily depend on the mercy of brokers. Don't become one of these owner-operators, Pick a few lanes, 3 to 5 lanes, and become an expert in them so you know how the rates change and when they will change and why they're changing. This brings me to my next point, which is
he should be at 2 million views right now. 2 million just on owner operators alone. Like, they should watch this every morning when they wake up before the load board open up. If you are getting on the DAT Load Board doing anything like that, which of course you can get the DAT Load Board free for 30 days. Link gonna be in the description. Watch this video. Then you should meditate on this video.
Is research your market. Now that you've picked a market, it's time to do some research, and there are 2 ways that I like to do this. The first method is what almost everyone uses, which is the broker to carrier spot rate. If you use a DAT Load Board, you probably already know about the broker to carrier spot rate, but if you don't and you want to find it, just log into your load board, go to the top right hand side, click on the toolbox icon, and when you click on it, a drop down menu will pop up, and when it does, just scroll down to where it says quick rate search and click on that. You can use this feature to quickly check spot rates and get a historical 15-day estimate of the average spot rate. Just remember.
Now let me say something about the 15-day average, because a lot of people I talk to, they be like, yeah, I called the broker and I let the broker know that ain't even the 15-day average. What you got to remember about the spot market is rates change weekly, and the 15-day average is 15 days behind, and the common denominator to the price of the rates is substitution. So it's supply and demand. And if that was too complex for you, let me say it a different way. While the 15-day average is a good tool to have inside your toolbox, do not use that hammer to hit a nail when you trying to book a load. Because what you're going to find out is the broker doesn't care about the 15-day average. He knows how many trucks are in a particular market. He knows how soon he has to move that load. He knows just about everything that he needs to know when he's setting the price or throwing the price out there at you. So you're at a disadvantage. So unless you're confident and you firm on your number, he might let you slide because he feel like you will call him back when you get desperate. If they sense fear, if there's blood in the streets, they gonna eat.
Remember, the broker to carrier spot rate is historical data. It doesn't represent current market conditions.
Thank you.
Go back 5 seconds and listen to that again, because many owner operators will just ask for that rate from brokers and call it a day. Don't get me wrong, it's a good start, but again, it's the lazy way of booking loads, and if you're watching this video, you're probably not the lazy type. If you want to make the most money possible, like we all do, then you have to take into account historical data and current data. We already know the 15-day historical data from the broker to carrier spot rate, but to find the current data, we have to look at another DAT feature called market conditions. Under market conditions, you're able to see how hot your market is and how much negotiation power you have when calling brokers. Basically, if your market is red, it means it's a hot market and you can definitely charge higher than the broker to carrier spot rate. But if it's blue, it means it's a cool market and you might not have that much negotiation.
So basically the market conditions gonna tell you the supply and the demand. And I preach that a lot when I be talking about like booking loads and stuff like that. Like, you gotta understand supply and demand.
Negotiation power. Even if your market is blue, it doesn't mean that you can't charge higher than the broker to carrier spot rate. It just means that it's going to be harder to negotiate that rate and you may have to settle for something less. If you want to learn more about this feature, you can check out my last video. I go a little more in detail in there. Anyways, combining the historical and current market data will give you a really good idea of what to charge brokers when you call them. Here's another pro tip for you guys. Instead of calling the brokers that you want to call right away, you can test out the market by calling for loads under the similar matches section. You can—
Bruh, stop it. Oh my goodness. You giving out free game, man. I hope they listening. Oh, bro. Did you just tell them, like, call other brokers and just act like you want to book the load and see what the rate is for you really calling the loads that you want? Bro, come on, man. You clumsy with the game. You dropping all kinds of
You can do this
gems.
by setting up filters for all 3 to 5 of your lanes and highballing brokers from the similar search results section. The reason I'm telling you to do this for loads under the similar search results section is because there'll be a bunch of loads there that you won't want to pick up for whatever reason. Maybe the load is too heavy or the deadhead miles are too high, who knows. Regardless of what the reason is, call these brokers and highball them. By doing this, you'll get an idea of how high a broker is willing to negotiate with you before they just laugh at you and end the call. Obviously, if the broker to carrier spot rate is $2 per mile, don't waste your time by calling them and asking for $5 per mile. If the market is hot, for the first few calls, ask for $2.50 per mile, then $2.75 per mile, then $3 per mile. Do this until you hit a cap, and you'll find out pretty quick where that is. Just to make it clear, step 1 is to calculate your CPM. Step 2 is to figure out 3 to 5 routes that you want to run. Step 3 is to do some market research based on historical and current data. And finally, step 4 is to just call the brokers that you want to call and negotiate with them. Now that you have a really good idea of what your break-even point is, your base market spot rate is, and your max market spot rate is, it's time to just pick up the phone and call. You've already done all the hard work and research, but there's still a few more questions you'll have to ask when you call.
Wait a minute. Let me say this before he go on. When you get all them numbers that he just named, you know what I'm saying, you should already have a ballpark figure in your mind before you call the broker that you want for that lane. And anything the broker say should actually add to that price. Let's keep going here. He might say that. I don't know.
Call, remember to make a note of the commodity, the pickup time, delivery time, the name of the receiver company, and the load's weight. To most people, these are just common load details that you would ask for, and truthfully they are, but I like to think of these items as negotiation pieces. If, for example, the weight was 42,000 pounds for this hypothetical load, I know that's a heavy load that many people won't pick up because of the extra fuel expense it will take. So I'll use that to my advantage later in the call to charge a higher rate. Likewise, if the delivery is at 1 p.m., I know a lot of carriers will stay away from this load because they're gonna have trouble finding a return load that picks up that late. Again, I purposely like to seek out loads like this because then I have an easier time negotiating higher rates with brokers. Speaking of which, when I call a broker, I like to throw out my rate first. I do this because the first rate that I'm gonna throw out is my max rate that I figured out in step 3 by calling other brokers. I know the broker is not going to give me a load at that rate, but I throw this number out first to set an anchor price. Now, every dollar that I come down from my anchor price, the broker will think that he's getting a good deal because I'm making a sacrifice. Also, just to add on, after you throw out your anchor price, all you need to do is be quiet.
What? Man, come on, man. Why couldn't you have made this video 10 years ago for me? Why did I have to go through everything I went through? I needed you 10 years ago, bro. They need you now. I need you 10 years ago, bro. You 10 years late, bro.
I'm not trying to be rude, but many people have a bad habit of throwing out their anchor price and then trying to justify it immediately and explain the rate that they're charging. Don't do that. Instead, throw your max rate out. Let's just say it's $1,300. The broker will obviously come back and say, no, I can't do that. The max I can do on this load is $1,000. And that's when you come back and say, well, the load is really heavy at 42,000 pounds and the delivery time is really late, so I might not be able to find a load back in time. Let's just meet at $1,200 and I'll deliver this load for you. Obviously, there might be more back and forth than that. You know, it's not just going to be that easy, but the point I'm trying to make is don't try to justify yourself right away and bring your price down slowly. Don't jump from $1,300 to $1,050. You know, the broker will know right away that you really have no idea what the spot rate is and that you're just guessing. At the end of the day, guys, you can only really get better at negotiating through practice. You know, I didn't start making $5,000 overnight. You know, it took years of learning the hard way to be able to do this on a consistent basis. And now, hopefully, you're able to do it too. If you still feel uncomfortable contacting brokers and you don't really want to deal with that whole process, I do offer a dispatching service for carriers and owner-operators that you can apply for. If you're interested, you can go to gill22.com/careers or just click the link in the description. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, make sure you scroll down and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications.
OMG, bro. That is probably one of the best, if not the best, videos I've seen for negotiating rates with brokers. He gave up all the game that people try to charge for. He gave up all the gems. He dropped all the knowledge, man. We need to get this video to 1 million views, whether it's on my page, whether it's on his page. I don't care. Send this video to everybody that you know that's out there booking loads, man. For real, man. Hey, this your boy Icewater 815. I just wanted to show y'all that it's actually people out here making videos about the right way to do things. I know, like, my last 2 reaction videos had to do with people who weren't doing things the right way. Hopefully they see this video and they can start doing things like he said. And again, it's gonna take practice. You're not gonna get there overnight, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become with it. And it's about making those phone calls, because those phone calls lead to connections. Those connections lead to relationships with quality brokers. Like I say, the DAT Load Board is like a dating service, man. You want a relationship with a good broker. That's how you make the most money. If you do not have your own direct customers or direct shippers or direct receivers, however you want to call them, man. Hey, this your boy Icewater 815, man. Remember, it don't matter what kind of truck you drive, long as it'll deliver a load. But you ain't gonna make no money in trucking if you can't keep that left door closed. Hey, I'll see you next video, YouTube. Y'all be safe.
Been through a lot of pain in my life, and I pray the Lord take it all away.